All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. So I wanted to continue my series about legendary NABBA Mr. Universe winners. So far, we have covered guys like Bill Pearl, Ed Kowak, and now we're going to move on to Eddy Ellwood. So for those of you who aren't aware, the NABBA Mr. Universe used to be the premier bodybuilding competition. The Olympia came around in 1965, but the Mr. Universe competition had been around since 1948. So before the Olympia came along, and even after the Olympia came along for a couple of years, the NABBA Mr. Universe was still the #1 title. So the NABBA Mr. Universe winners, I think, are probably the second most impressive bodybuilders aside from the history of the IFBB Mr. Olympia competition. So a lot of bodybuilding channels like to just look at past Mr. Olympias, but the Mr. Olympia was not the only game in town. So earlier I mentioned Ed Kowak. So Ed Kowak and Eddy Ellwood were basically the Ronnie Coleman and the Lee Haney of NABBA. So the record for Mr. Universe wins is 5 Mr. Universe wins, and both Eddy Ellwood and Ed Kowak have won the NABBA Mr. Universe 5 times. So that is the record. So the record for the Olympia is obviously 8 Mr. Olympia competitions, and the record is held by Lee Haney and Ronnie Coleman. So you could kind of say that Ed Kowak is like the Lee Haney of NABBA, because during the 80s was his reign, and he dominated NABBA throughout the 80s, and that's when he won his 5 Mr. Universe competitions. And Eddy Ellwood would kind of be like the Ronnie Coleman of NABBA, because he won his 5 Mr. Universe competitions in the late 90s and early 2000s. So he dominated the same era that Ronnie Coleman dominated in the IFBB. So these guys are probably 2 of the most important guys in the history of the NABBA Mr. Universe competition. Number 1, just because of the sheer number of Mr. Universes that they won. And number 2, just because of their legendary physiques. So back to Eddy Ellwood. This guy was no small guy. He was 6'1" and 317 pounds in the offseason, which is 144 kilograms. So this guy was a pretty damn big guy. And after his bodybuilding career, he would go on to start competing in 2002 in strongman competitions, and he actually did very, very well. So he's a 4-time England Strongest Man winner, and he was actually qualified for the World's Strongest Man competition. So again, this was after his bodybuilding career. So the years that he won the NABBA Mr. Universe were 1997, 1998, 1999, 2000, and 2001. Then in 2002, he would do his first strongman competition. So Eddy was mainly known for having crazy conditioning. His conditioning was really, really good. But one of my main critiques of Eddy's physique would probably be his arms. In my opinion, his arms are just not that impressive at all. As you can see in some of these photos, especially when he's hitting a front double bicep or any shot where the front underhead of his bicep is exposed, it just doesn't really have a very good peak to it, and there's really not that much size to it, especially compared to the size of his upper body. He had a really nice size to his chest and his lats, and his midsection was a little bit thick. When you get to his arms just seem to kind of... They just don't look that good compared to the rest of his body. But like I said, very good conditioning, very good lines, very good separation, and kind of good aesthetics. In my opinion, Ed Kowak was a far superior Mr. Universe winner compared to Eddy Ellwood. But Eddy Ellwood is the 5-time champ. He was destroying the NABBA Mr. Universe in the 90s and 2000s. So we got to give him props where props are due. So please give this video a thumbs up if you want to see more NABBA Mr. Universe videos. Thank you guys for watching. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.